Welcome, everyone. If you would put in the chat where you're joining us from, that would be great. Dr. Sue, where are you today?
I am today sitting in Indianapolis, Indiana, in the middle of the country, just south of Chicago.
Wow.
Sometimes I'm in LA, and sometimes I'm in New York. I have studios in both of those places, but today I'm here, getting ready to do a healing retreat starting for the next 3 days here.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
wonderful.
I wish I was there with you, and I'm going to join you one of these days. So,
Excellent.
welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled that you are here today. My name is Joni Parsons, and I'm founder of RevelEleven. And I am so honored to have Dr. Sue Morter here joining us from Indianapolis. And just wanted to talk a little bit about, our life. And through our lives, all of us have focused on becoming more healed, more enlightened, and more worthy. I can attest to this. I'm a seeker and I'm always doing this. But this book, The Anatomy of Awakening, the five codes to activate self healing, unlock your higher consciousness, and live your divine destiny, is amazing. And it reveals that awakening is not something new, but remembering what has always been present within us. This book offers a new model of awakening, one that is embodied, sustainable, and accessible to us in real life each and every day, and to all of you out there. Dr. Sue is an international speaker, master of bioenergetic medicine, and host of the podcast, The Art of Awakening. And I have to add, so much more. Dr. Sue, welcome. I am just delighted to have you here today.
Oh my goodness, it's so great to be here. I look forward to where we get to go in our conversation.
Wonderful. So tell me about your book, The Anatomy of Awakening. What do you mean by awakening?
So awakening is, having a realization that I've been living a life in a much more limited fashion than I really needed to, even though it seemed like all there was, and that I was certainly doing the best I could. And it seems to be going pretty well a lot, and there are some stressful aspects to it. But having a realization that there's actually much more to me than I was ever taught or than I have ever experienced. And it's accessible and available and sitting and waiting for me to turn it on and to enliven these aspects of me. So imagine like if you were raised in an environment where the conversation was very limited, you were never exposed to what science had to offer or what the arts were telling us for millennia, or that there were even such things as sacred sites around the world or other cultures or indigenous traditions and all that. If you were raised never knowing about any of that, and you're just kind of going along doing your thing, and then all of a sudden someone shows up in your life and says, hey, did you know about this, and did you know about that, and all of a sudden your reality, it's like, when we do this like thing with our, with our hands, is, it's really insinuating that you just blew my mind kind of thing, that we're awakening, realizing things about ourselves that we never knew before. And when we learn them, there is a deep release and reprieve and a sense of sovereignty and a sense of agency, where we are more than we thought we were and more capable of solving problems, and even better than that, more capable of being creative instead of being afraid, being creative instead of being strategic all the time, being creative and fulfilling our destiny, as if it's always meant to be. So awakening would be the realizations that life has so much more to offer me from the inside out than I ever knew.
So we don't need to keep striving to improve on an ongoing basis.
It isn't about improvement, it's about remembering. What happens is I get to know who I am. I get to sense and feel into the fact that I'm whole and complete, and there's nothing broken, and there's nothing wrong, and there's nothing missing. And so I'm not trying to fix anything, and I'm not trying to get better at something. I'm actually finally receiving the treasure trove that is inside of me that I never knew how to access. Now, the first time somebody said, the answers are inside of you, and I was filled with questions in my 20s, I was like, great. I look inside, I don't see any answers. Now I've got two problems. I've got the questions I had, and now I've got this thing that is telling me that, oh my God, I must be the only one that's missing all these answers that are inside, because I didn't know how to find them. Because you can't find them the same way that we solve problems in the outer world. The inner world takes a different approach. It requires a different level of presence. It requires truly tender, loving care. It requires us recognizing that precious and tender and sacred and intimate and, cherish and wonder and awe, these kinds of feelings that we don't really run across every day, that are actually vibrating at a different frequency than what's the smart thing to do, or what's everybody doing, or what's trending now, or those are just a different radio station altogether. And so when we take that mind that's been trained in the outer world and try to look into our inner world and find our deep wisdom and find the deep truth of who we are, which is completely flourishing with abundance and wisdom and a love that we've been seeking all of our lives, we start to recognize that there's an entire different way I could be being that's actually much more empowered than all the other strategies I've been implementing in my life. I just lay down this game of trying to win and trying to fix it and trying to get ahead, and I drop into an entirely different life purpose and life focus and life experience. And it's right there waiting to be had, but we can't have it until we have it, until we learn how to let this emerge from within. It's been held subconsciously because we keep suppressing it when we're so busy trying to figure out what's wrong with me and how do I fix it, and all of that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a different game altogether.
Well, and this disease or this unease, suffering, and ultimately dis-ease is very much a part of what you're talking about. Because when we're constantly seeking and we're constantly searching and asking other people for answers, what you're saying is that it's already within. And what we're going to be talking about today is how we start going within more with your five codes.
Mm.
Um, but you've said like we've forgotten about the knowledge that we have internally. Where do you think that started? Because it's all been there for the millennia of time. So where did
Mm.
we start forgetting?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's such a big conversation we can have around that, but what we have to realize is that science is telling us that the whole of our manifest world, our physical reality, is based in consciousness, and it's energy. That means it's energy that is aware. That's what the whole foundation of our reality is. It's just we're creating this collective movie. To put it another way, we're all projecting an agreed upon reality that's kind of gotten handed down, and we're all just assuming that that's what's true. And as it turns out, it's not the only thing that's true. Science is showing us today that we actually can change that reality if enough of us are thinking differently and perceiving differently. So what happened along the way was we were creating a movie for ourselves, and we created enough in the movie that there became enough attention and magnetism to what's out there in the movie, and we got pulled off of the seat of remembering that we're the ones creating this darn thing. So here's another way of
Really
thinking
interesting.
thinking about it. Let me put this image up on this back wall right here and just say something about it here. So if we look at, here's a human being standing in this doorway, and here's the world as we know it. But what happens right beyond the physical expression of us is this world of energy. And this, what we know about physical matter is that to get physical matter, like our physical bodies, or even the chair that you're sitting in right now, you compress energy, that all physical matter is compressed energy. It's kind of an interesting thought. If you decompress it, it just goes back to this whole unified field of energy. But if you compress it and compress it and compress it and compress it and compress it, we get to this physical version of ourselves when actually we're made of this. So we're made of this creative energy, and we've compressed ourselves into this physical body, but we're projecting, this energy is projecting right through us into the life that we're living. So we're projecting this movie and walking into it all the time. So when we forgot, is when we created so much in the movie that it pulls us into the movie, and we start thinking that the movie is real. So we start trying to control the people and the places and the things in our movie so that we can feel better if we're not feeling good. But the reason we're not feeling good is because we're not sitting where we're supposed to be sitting in the deep self. We're sucked out here and trying to change everybody else. We're trying to change the world instead of realizing I'm contributing to the way the world is operating right now. It's just kind of a mind bender, but
it is a mind bender that
yeah.
we have this energetic body and that we are all energy. And you talk about that a lot. And we're going
Yeah.
to get into the codes in a few minutes. But the other thing I absolutely love about your book is that you talk a lot about love. So there's energy here, and then there's love. And that expression makes such a huge difference in our lives. So how do those two pieces
Yeah,
go together?
right. Well, this is what people don't realize. Love is energy. It's energy.
Love
When
is
you,
energy.
yeah, everything is energy. This body is energy. My thoughts are energy. My beliefs are energy. My chemistry in my body is energy. My digestive system is energy. It's all just moving and unfolding and vibrating at different frequencies. So here's the beautiful thing. If we took this thing right here and stretched it out really big, which I'm going to do here with this image, I'm going to just stretch it out really big just to kind of give us some appreciation for the magnitude of what I'm talking about here. So this is this whole unified field of consciousness. It's all of the energy that is. It's just everything that makes up our whole world. And you start compressing it to get to physical form, because that's what we said. Physical matter is compressed energy. So if you decompress it and decompress it, you get all the way back here to this big unified field where all of the energies coexist. Okay? So when we compress it, the very first compression creates a vibration. So when the unified field starts compressing, the very first vibration that gets created is love. So if we are loving, we are as close to the unified field. Infinite possibilities would be another way of describing that. We're as close to infinite possibilities when we're vibrating at the frequency of love. Let's just say it's right up here. It's right up here at this very beginning piece. So when I'm loving, I have more power behind me than when I'm so contracted that I feel separate and I'm defending and arguing and trying to prove a point, and all of the stuff that happens when we don't remember that we are a direct connection to all that is. There's a continuum, there's a through line from all that is all the way to the individual standing on the surface of the planet, every single one of us. There's a through line. So we're the direct expression of truly the divine, if you really want to get down to it. We're the direct expression of all that could be. Infinite possibility. That's why we have free will and we can choose to assign meanings to different things. We write stories. We are so empowered to take all this energy and turn it into any kind of movie we want to. But nobody trained us that way. Nobody told us that that was really what's going on. We just think that we're a product of our past and a product of our genetic inheritance, a product of our environment, product of our socioeconomic, landing pad, wherever we grew up, etc. But that isn't the truth at all. Right down to our DNA, science is showing us that we can change what expresses in our DNA and what does not. So we can't even say, well, my mom was this way and her mom was this way, and it just kind of runs in our family. Well, it runs in our family because we're not doing anything about it. That's why it runs in our family. And
exactly.
so what science is showing us and spirituality has been trying to tell us for thousands of years is that we can do everything about it. We can do
Mhm.
everything about it. So, and that's what
And
we're here to
and
learn.
and that is what we're here to learn. And I was telling Dr. Sue earlier today that I've been studying with doctors that practice the best movement or the best practices. And it's just been an incredible opportunity to learn about these energetic systems and how they're held in in our body. And this piece about love and divine love is so beautiful. So, what happens in our lives, in our relationships, our health, our purpose, when we begin to live from this higher frequency?
So, this energy is electromagnetic in nature. For instance, this is the earth right here, and this is a whole electromagnetic field cycling around the earth that is always there, and it's always a higher vibration and a deeper vibration, a more comprehensive reality than the one that we run on. And this whole same thing flows through our body, and this whole toric field is a movement of this energy. And we can talk about that in a moment. But your question is, very, very important question. What happens when we start embodying more and more and more of this full continuum, this full through line that we were talking about? And, what happens is we start to heal. We start to heal because the only reason we need healing is because we've been suppressing that energy in one way or another all of our lives. From before we were even verbal, before we were mobile, before we could talk or speak or crawl, we were under the influence of our external environment. If our mother wasn't happy, we weren't happy. If somebody was in the room upsetting something, we felt that, we absorbed it. We're constantly a sponge because we're this sensory presence that projects itself right here into this realm and is trying to get a foothold on how to live here and how to be here. And so we drop into some vibrational frequencies that are very fear-based because we don't know who we are, we don't know what's going on. And under those circumstances, early on in life, we start shutting down different parts of ourselves. Like we try to love or be expressive, or but the person doesn't love us back, or we get ridiculed, or we get in trouble, or whatever, and we start shutting parts of ourselves down. And these, what look like chakras here, are representing different aspects of our own whole full consciousness. And when we start shutting down our belongingness, or shutting down our personal power, or shutting down our ability to express freely, or at least our perceived ability, inability to say what we need to say without getting in trouble, that kind of thing, we start shutting down. And so this energy runs in a certain pattern. It comes from overhead and it hits the earth right through our body and hits the earth. And then it turns and rises back up again. And it cycles out the top of the head and cycles around the outside of the body and comes up again and reuptake over and over. Is constantly recycling, and it's constantly pouring in from overhead, and it's constantly hitting the earth, and it's constantly rising up, and it's constantly rolling over on itself over and over and over again. And so when we start shutting down, that energy that is descending and hitting the earth and rising up now has to go around the areas that we have shut down. And that creates a wobble in the ascending energy through our body, just the way bioenergetics and the science and the study of how this energy flows through our own system shows us. So now it's wobbling, and that wobble creates a distortion in the field.
Mhm.
So now this individual is standing inside of a distortion, looking out into a distorted reality. They are seeing a world that doesn't care, opportunities that pass them by. They see themselves as not enough. They see that others are doing other things and they're not, the same. And so they judge themselves and they shut themselves down even more. And all of this is 100% in response to premature conclusions that we have drawn about ourselves, ideas about self that we have instilled that separate us from that big, beautiful continuum that's on the flow. So what we were just looking at is right here. It's that whole toric field thing is happening right there. But if we look at the magnitude of energy that's filling that, that's feeding that system, we see that oh my gosh, we're powerful beyond measure. We are actually the universe packed into a body. And if we remain open, we allow this to flow through us and into our lives. And our lives become more a reflection of this perfected version of that system and the way that it was built to run, instead of our lives being a reflection of the distorted version of that based on these premature conclusions that we've drawn. So if we look at this image, we see, this is how it would work. The whole unified field compresses into form, hits this earth, rises up, it's cycling around that toric field, and then it projects this movie. And this person is walking into this movie all the time. But when we're shut down in all these ways, our movie gets sputtery, it gets inconsistent. So sometimes we feel empowered, and sometimes we feel lovable, and sometimes we feel, like we can forgive, and sometimes we feel creative, but not consistently and not robustly. And we're designed to be consistent and robust in this full-on expression of the energy that's pouring into and through this body and into these lives that we're living. So we just have
So,
to
and Dr.
learn.
Sue,
Yeah.
what if some of those emotions get stuck in your body? Like
Mm-hmm.
what happens and how do you begin to release them?
Yeah. So everybody's looking for what the problem is, what my blocks are, what I'm stuck about. And what happens is, when this happens, energies get stuck in our field, in our energy system, dissonant energies, disconnected energies. We start to feel bogged down. We feel a sense of anxiety. We misinterpret that energy as fear and anxiety. And when reality, it's just creative energy trying to rush through the ripples. This is like little rapids that happen in the river. It picks up turbulence, and we can feel that turbulence, and we misinterpret that turbulence as fear, but it's really the turbulence is trying to bring our attention to the fact that we're suppressing this stuff and causing a pressure gradient. And so it's actually in our favor that we feel those jittery things inside of us if we only knew what to do with them. And that's what I teach people what to do. I teach them how to work with the fact that they're feeling this stuff. So when it gets blocked like this, we feel lethargy, we feel depressed, we feel disconnected, like we don't belong, like we're not enough, like we can't participate in life, we don't speak up, we don't speak our truth, we're afraid to, we regret, we remorse, we get bitter, you name it. All the stuff that, yeah, who wants
Stuff.
to be that? And we injure ourselves and don't heal, and we don't develop in our creativity, and our personality is all defensive instead of being gregarious and happy and fun and joyful and peaceful, most importantly. So lots of reasons to move from this to this, for sure. When we start to embody higher vibrations, which actually you guys might be surprised that embodying higher vibrations instead of the dense vibrations that are shutting things down actually only requires our authenticity. It requires us to be true to ourselves. It requires us to love the parts of us that are afraid. It requires us to embrace the things that feel intimidated or are angry, and not try to push them aside in order to be, have a higher vibration. It never works. People have these fearful feelings or these angst or anxiety or anger, and they try to push it away and just go be happy, and it will never work. It will never work. What we have to do is embrace the parts of us that are feeling that way, so that there's more love in the system, and so that those parts can now reintegrate and create this step by step by step by step of learning how to get in there and read the priority that is most important for me today to take a look at. And there's a systematic way to approach that. That's what I wrote about, and what I've written about in 2 books. But that's definitely what we are addressing here, is that people have to realize that being happy isn't about faking it until you make it. It
No,
isn't
it's
that.
not at all.
It's not that. It's
No,
about being authentic, because when you are authentic, your mind and your body and your deep core soulful self become one again, and love gets to flourish inside
I
of
love
that.
I love that so much. And this is just a great introduction to your 5 codes that you talk about the anatomy of awakening and the hidden codes to activate self-healing and more. So, what
Mm.
are they? We're going to go step by step, but why did you structure the awakening process in this way?
Yeah, because I started at the top. because instead of working our way up from the bottom, because we start at the top. We start at the top. We start in the all that is. We come from that. We draw forward, we draw ourselves forth from the unified field of infinite possibilities, from the heavens, from the realm. So, however you want to talk about it, we come forward into this physical realm as that. We are that spirit energy, quantum energy, however you want to talk about it, it's the same thing. And we are compressing and drawing ourselves, focusing together and pulling ourselves into this life experience, to have a life experience of ourselves as whole. So I start with our wholeness. I specifically start with, instead of trying to get to your wholeness one day, let's just remember that that's what you are and start the conversation from that place. Instead of starting the conversation from, okay, you're broken. Okay, you had these things happen in your past. Okay, this is going on. You've been this way suppressed for 30 years. How are you going to fix it? Let's talk about the problems. Let's get down in there and get in the grit and the grime of it all, which, would be a lot easier if you remembered who you were doing that project. But if you start there where we've all been living, it's really hard to ever get to your own whole, full divinity, even your completeness. It's really hard to ever get there. In fact, we've even been taught you never get there until you die. Then you get to go to heaven.
Right. Well, you
Then you get to
can
experience,
with
right?
your codes. And one thing that I loved and thought was really interesting about these codes is that not only you express them as five codes, but so we have seven chakras, and you also align them with chakras being not 1 through 7, but 1 through 12.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so this first one, the creator code, which is the highest level, like you said, not the bottom, but you call this the 12th chakra. Will you explain that a little bit more?
You bet. You bet.
Yes.
So let's just look at this as this continuum that comes from, everywhere right into this physical place that we are. So if this whole thing just took a turn and you did a cross section of it and took a look at it, it would look kind of like this. Okay. So I'm just putting it up here as our invisible anatomy. So here's that same continuum that's coming from beyond the beyond. And we come here through a series of compressions. And this is scientific, okay? Even though I'm referring to it sort of like this little cartoon here. And if you were to look at this, this is the human system. And we know inside the human system, there are 7 chakras most people are familiar with, but it doesn't stop there. If you go higher in vibration, there's a chakra 8 and a chakra 9 and chakra 10. And chakra 11 is all of the energy inside of this. And chakra 12 is this, it's called the ascension body. It's the energy body. It's the invisible anatomy. It's an energy field that is measurable. It's 10 feet in either direction, 20 feet above and below you. It's tremendous at its most dense level. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more expansive, the more subtle the energy becomes. So the more subtle the energy we can dial into, which means stopping our mind and dropping into the sensitive sensing self and feeling energies like intimate and cherish and adoration and wonder and awe and the ideas of something being sacred and rare and cherishing and adoring and loving unconditionally and divinely. So when we get into those kinds of energies, which all emotions are energies, when we get into these refined energies, we start to animate this invisible anatomy and we start to be able to even feel it. In fact, if everyone right now would just kind of relax and put your hands sort of like this, where your fingers, the backs of your fingers are just touching each other, just barely touching, and then keep them just like that and take it right down to below your navel, right below your navel. And then we're going to inhale and just draw this slowly right up your body. Just inhale right up the body and then exhale out the top of your head and go slowly. And you're going to start to feel something in the palm of your hands, or like your hands are moving through something really thick. And if you open your heart and you breathe in your belly and you slow down your breath and just let that take a cycle, so that we're basically tracing this. Okay. So let's do it again. Let's inhale up the channel. So the fingers are just right there together. And then you exhale right out your crown, just like you're kind of shooting this energy right out your crown. And we're just going to trace that toric field. And the slower you go, the more you can feel it. It gets thick, like the air around you becomes thick. Well, it's always that way. Let's do it once more. Inhale right up the channel. Inhale, inhale, inhale through your belly, through your nose, into your belly, and then exhale right out your nose. And this energy, you can start to feel it. You can start to sense and feel that this anatomy is there. It's there. We just have never been trained to pay attention to it. And so what you can start to do is also bring your hands just together right here, just about that far, and just slowly move them toward each other and away. And if you go slow enough, you'll start to feel that it kind of doesn't even want to move. It's like it doesn't want to go closer and it doesn't want to pull apart. There's something in the space between. And so we so know this to be true. This living field is around everything. This living field is all that exists. And it's around us, it's around the leaves, it's around the pets, it's around everyone. Everything that is animated, alive, has this life force emanating from it. We are really light compressed into form. So we know that to be true around the energy, the aura field around a body. We know it to be true all the way down inside the cells of our body, that the little mitochondria that are inside the cells that are producing energy emit light when they're doing it. We're just light compressed into form. So when we recognize that, we realize that, oh my gosh, I'm made of everything, and I have infinite power that I am made of, and I'm here to steer and point that into whatever I choose. But we get hung up trying to fix problems. And so we take this infinite amount of creativity and we just focus in on what's my problem, what's my problem, what's my problem, what's wrong with me, what's broken, what are my blockages, what's hidden in my subconscious. And the problem with approaching it that way is that at the end of the day, even if you found a problem to fix, at the end of the day, all you know how to do is find problems and fix them. So your life becomes based on looking for problems to fix so that you can be happier. But it will never
So,
create happiness. It
so
just
let's
doesn't
talk
happen.
about the actioning code, which is the 11th chakra. It's all about flowing with grace, which is what you're talking about, rather than force. So, how can people shift out of pushing and into alignment? And what happens when they say yes and surrender?
Yeah. So you can kind of get the idea here that, quantum science talks to us about, is it a wave or is it a particle? What's the foundation of our reality? And the answer is yes. It depends on what you're looking for. So what we know is that we are a wave of energy. We are a flow, a through line. There's energy waving, moving, flowing like a river through our bodies and through our lives. And so when we surrender to allowing that wave of grace to pour into us and guide us, it guides us into our perfecting life. It guides us into a life that we love living because it guides us into the life that we're meant to be living. Instead of us making a decision and overriding it, we feel it like nudges, internal knowings, gut feelings, inner wisdom, those kinds of things. But there are ways to enhance that inner wisdom. And it allows us to take aligned actions so that we're not swimming upstream. It allows us to be walking and creating our true path every day instead of trial and error and pushing the river and trying to make things happen only to have them explode and collapse and fall and fail. And we have to start over again. There's another way. There's a rhythm, a vibrational frequency that we could dial into that would allow us to catch this whole wave and feel it moving through our systems and be able to trust it. Because when this is happening, whenever the energy hits this or hits this or hits this, it's been talking to you all your life. It's the knot in your stomach. It's the tightness in your chest. It's the lump in your throat. It's the headache that comes on instantly as soon as some topic starts, starts, being approached in some family gathering or what have you. The body is constantly trying to show us, hey, you're not going to get away with this. That's what the body's trying to say, because the universe will not tolerate. It'll either take you out or you'll get it cleared up. In order to stay, we have to start operating like this. In order to be healthy, in order to be aligned and living. So every little bit that we move toward this allows us to sense and feel these truths. So here's what I mean. If you are sitting in your room, minding your own business, and somebody comes to the doorway in the room, and you turn and you look, and it's somebody who triggers you, there's a reason that they trigger you. The reason that they trigger you probably has something to do with a past experience that you've had. Well, that past experience that you had shut you down in one way or another. So, of course, you're going to attract someone into your life that will trigger you so that you can clear this stuff up, because that's how the super consciousness works. It's like, hey, we got to get this stuff cleared up here, because, this isn't going to work. And I'm
That's
living
such
a
an
life. Right.
interesting reminder when that happens to go, this is a lesson, or this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Actually, this is an opportunity
Yeah.
to release something that is no longer serving us,
Yeah.
and approach it with both, energetic flow and love, right?
Right. Curiosity and love and gratitude. Because if you
Thank
didn't
you.
trigger me, I would never know that I was shut down in my own personal identity. Because if I knew who I really was and this was cleared up, you could come to the door doing all the things that you do, and it wouldn't have an effect on me because I'm experiencing my wholeness. But if I'm experiencing my partialness, if I'm shut down in certain ways, guarantee I feel inadequate. So you can't, if you show up in the doorway and it stresses me, I got to get away from you because it's too much. But if I'm operating like this and you come to the door, you could be the same old person that you've always been, say the same old things you've always said, but it's not going to have that same effect on me. I'm going to see the separation. I'm going to see the distinction, the difference. I'm going to see that your behavior is unhealthy. Instead of being intimidated by your unhealthy behavior, I'm going to be able to possibly have enough wherewithal to actually help you with your unhealthy behavior, instead of get reactive to it and feel imploding or as if, lacking in some way because I'm unable to handle your way of being. So we just have to bring our attention back into the core and allow our wholeness to be reestablished. So chakra 11 is about allowing this flow to flow. And when that flow is trying to flow through your body and it hits up against one of these areas that are shut down, it shows us, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be working on now. Oh,
Right.
this is what I'm supposed to be working on now. Oh, this one. So one person might show up in your doorway and you get a stomach ache. Another person might show up in your door and your throat just clamps down. And there's for different reasons. It's for different reasons because it's reflecting to you that there are different parts of your own consciousness that you have shut down in some way over the course of your life. And this is your opportunity to recognize it. And so what I do is I teach people how to get in there, live in the central core where this system can change, and to feel these things one after another every day, and teach you how to clear them up by building a super highway through this thing that looks like a cow path right now, just to get some symmetry
aligned.
and robustness happening through your flow.
Well, and let's talk about chakra 10 because these all build upon one another. We've talked about love. This is the destiny code, which it focuses on embodying quantum love. So we've talked quite a bit about this, but how does living from that love reshape our sense of purpose at the core level?
Oh my
We can
goodness.
just
So
touch on this briefly and then go to the next one.
you bet. So there's so much in this particular chapter that I absolutely love. It
Yes,
brings
it's
in all
amazing.
sorts of things from our ancient past. It brings in things from Mary Magdalene and what she was offering up inside of that whole story, and why she was marginalized inside of the big picture, and how it cannot work to let go of the deep love that represents, and so that she represented. And so another way of looking at this might be helpful, if we look at this image, we see we begin at that unified field level, chakra 12, and then we decide we're coming down in here into earth, into this life experience to have a life experience. So this is chakra 11. It's the actioning code. It's what takes the essence of the truth of who we are and puts it into action through a series of compressions, and we land here in the earth. And that's chakra 10, is the landing point. So it's the gatherer. It's where all this is pouring in and it catches it and gathers it. And so what's happening here at chakra 10 on a functional level is the receiving of all of our multidimensionality, all of our divinity, all of the truth of who we are, all of our power and the universal intelligence and the cosmic wisdom that we're made of. And it lets us have it. And so it's our destiny. It's our divine destiny to be fulfilled, because we're made of all that is. And when this vessel fills and fills and fills and fills, we start having realizations. And so the next chakra is chakra 9, which is the revelation code. It's associated with the revelation code because it's when this vessel starts to fill and fill and fill and fill, we start to feel our wholeness. We feel and feel and feel the glory of all that we actually are. And then we can actually see, oh my gosh, I've been duping myself all my life. Oh my goodness, I've been
Right.
letting people take advantage of me. I've been taken for granted. I've been, keeping quiet when I could just be free all my life. We start to see it when we're full, but we can't see it when we're not using this system the way that it's designed to be used. And so when it does awaken us by filling this vessel, we start to realize, oh my God, everything that's happening in my life is a blessing to me. It's all been showing me how to find these blockages and dissolve them. And the whole thing is in my favor. And so I'm allowing this to flow through me in a way that I can walk through life not afraid of what's going to happen next, but knowing that whatever happens next is going to help me even more. And that's it. So if you took this right here, right in here, right there is that same toric field that we were looking at when we're talking about this. It's the same thing. That's what, if you could see it right there, you can see that same loop that you see in this other image. And it really starts to put it all together for us. And just let me say this lastly. Here's what happens. We're supposed to be living right here. We're supposed to be like constantly receiving more into my body, constantly feeling my connection here to the earth and my groundedness and this is love right here. This is love. Love gathering and pooling and filling and filling and filling this vessel. And I'm supposed to be living right there so that I can have this awakening. But here's what happens. People push the river and they're living way out here in front of the whole system. They're trying to outrun their fear, outperform or keep up or compete or compare, or they go back here and they're like, no, I can't. I'm not enough. I can't. You go ahead. I'm not the one. It's not for me. I'm not good enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough money. I don't, da, da, da. So we hesitate and we pull ourselves out of that alignment. And so different people are going to have to do different things. Some people have to start speaking up to get in alignment. Some people are going to have to slow down to get in alignment. And the book shows and the practices that are in it and all of the coursework that I teach is all about how to teach ourselves how to live in this constant showering of this blessing, of this guidance, and to let it be the flow that establishes the decisions that we make and the ways that we feel about ourselves, et cetera. So the
So,
majority.
Dr. Sue, I think it's so important to note that, we live in a much more negative mindset. It's just human existence to have a more negative feeling about life sometimes. And
Yes.
why is it that we feel so disconnected from joy and aliveness on a daily basis? Like our mental state will go negative before it will go positive.
Because we're not living right here. That's
Right.
why.
Okay.
I'm constantly being filled up if I'm living right there. If I'm standing right here, I'm constantly being renewed, rejuvenated, fulfilled. I'm feeling my fulfillment, my enlightenment, my aliveness. And so I'm available. When someone gets satisfied, they turn around and they're not so, angry. They're not so edgy. They're like, oh, we get pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. Nothing to complain about. This is the language used. Nothing to complain about. How are you today? Oh, can't complain. It's like, well, do you want to complain? But you just can't find things. I always laugh about that. But the reason that we go negative is because we step out of that. So now we're not experiencing our fulfillment. Our fulfillment is happening right here, but we're living ahead of ourselves. That's why people say, oh, I got ahead of myself. If we don't get ahead of ourselves, if we stay right in our core and stay enlivened in our deep, true essence, we are fulfilled. We feel it. And so we make different decisions. We make abundant decisions instead of scarcity decisions. We make decisions based on what brings up joy in us instead of what do I have to do to make ends meet? Like
Right.
who
Well,
wants a
and
life that's based in that?
exactly. And one of our members had a specific question for you. It's like,
Yeah.
how important is play to the feeling of all overall aliveness? When we're talking about being in this code, and being more blissful and more joyful, how does play play a role?
Yeah, play is the cat's meow, as far as I'm
Cat's
concerned.
meow.
Yeah, the cat's meow. So if we're playing here, even better. If we're playing here, it's a quick fix, but it's sort of like a band-aid. But if you can get yourself back in here, and you certainly can, and then you're in a playful disposition. When you're in your youth and your innovative and curiosity and creativity and playful disposition, you are operating the way we were intended to be operating, because the deep core of us, what's the energy right in here, is ananda, referenced in the Eastern culture. It's called ananda. It's the state of bliss, when we're constantly receiving and we're constantly on the rise in the same qualities of energies, and we're not disturbing it or distorting it and shutting down with being too serious or trying too hard or being too defeated based upon our past or our story in some way. We automatically go to joy, even in the face of upset, even in the face of fear. If we're present with ourselves, there's a sense of joy that we're allowing ourselves to stay present with ourselves right in the middle of loss and grief and
And you
uncertainty.
can have both at the same time, and
You
we
can.
we forget that as humans. So
Yeah.
so the last chakra is number 8, and
Mm.
the blessing code. So if you're living fully into all of these different invitations, what is the blessing? Talk to us about how important this is.
Yeah, it's kind of, we were speaking about it a little bit already, just
Yeah.
that everything that happens is actually a blessing to me. It's actually serving my awakening. It's serving me realizing how off course I was getting. So everything that happens, even the things that trigger me or upset me or feel like great loss, they are actually trying to point me back in the direction to cleaning this stuff up and allowing to myself to revisit the parts of me that I left behind. And so I'm grateful for the person who's triggering me, because it's taking me, once we learn how to work with this, which the book shows us, but once I learn how to work with it, I'm now, I'm not afraid of it anymore. And I'm actually grateful that you triggered me in the way that you did, because I never would have been able to discover how I was abandoning myself all these years, and unless it got shown to me. And so by the time we're in this, chakra 8 out here, by the time we're living this, where the whole thing is moving in this direction, but I'm here and walking my path, organized and stationed inside my system instead of getting outside of myself. I realized that there is so much more beauty in my life than I could even see before, because I was so caught in fight or flight, and my nervous system was dysregulated, and I was all up in, just fight, flight, freeze, something along those lines. When that starts to resolve, we start to now realize what's rising up in us is creative ingenuity and freedom and wisdom and a greater sense of love than we've ever felt before, because that's what we're made of.
Like so much what you said about living in these codes, and in all the messages in your book is about serving my awakeness, and my awakening.
Mm.
Um, As far as how do we begin to align all of these codes and everything that we talked about today, you have that image of
Mhm.
us as being whole, and then you have one of us kind of slumped over. Could you
Uh,
explain how we get into alignment with all of your philosophies?
so, one of the things that we have to realize, if you took that whole toric field right here and you see, the center of it, this is where we need to live. And we tend to live outside of our bodies in our heads. And there's a layer out here in the field that gets overstimulated when we overthink, and it draws us into it. And so we're living out here in this distortion when we overthink. And so the object is to get into this core again, to come back home so that we can do something about this and regenerate, recreate something that feels and operates more like this. And so there are some anchor points, and this is all described in the book as well, but there are anchor points up and down in that central channel. This is looking at the front. This is looking at the person from the side. This is anatomically how it aligns with the spine. There's one at the base of the spine. There's one right behind your heart. There's one in your throat, and there's one at the center of the brain. And these are areas that in ancient Eastern cultures, they would work with modifying how the energy flows through the body and regulating it so that the energy can be caught and used for something more corrective than the energy just passing through and going through that wobbly, distorted image as if that was all there was ever going to be and just making do. There's a way of learning to regulate this energy and draw it down in a systematic way so that we can start to sit down in the driver's seat again. If you picture these anchor points as putting us back in the center of that field instead of being at the effects of the outer edge of it, what begins to happen is we feel a sense of real stability. So here's a great practice for people to do. This one's very easy to do. Roll your shoulders up and back and down. Just roll them up. So it opens up your chest and your blades come together, and then just drop them down your spine. It just kind of opens up your heart space.
Well,
And now,
so good.
yeah, it is just like, oh, there I am. It's like,
Oh,
oh, why wasn't I doing that? And so lean back inside your own body just a little bit and take a big belly breath. And you want that whole heart space and the solar plexus right below it and your belly to become one big open vessel. That's the objective, is just to start breathing in your belly and allowing that openness in the solar plexus and in the heart. And it just feels so good. Breathe in and out of your nose, breathe in the belly first, not in the chest. And it really sets you up for an amazing sitting down. And then if we really want to get in the vehicle and sit down and then buckle your seatbelt, you're going to use this one right here. This one buckles you in a big way. So it's literally just like if you take the seatbelt and click it in, it brings your awareness from living in your head to living down
yes.
in your body. And it's called Mula Bandha. And it's named after Muladhara, which just means the root chakra, root lock. Mula Bandha means root lock. So what it means is I tend to live in my head. I'm going to pull myself back down in my body. And then all those levels of consciousness that we've been talking about get to be utilized as contributors to the decisions that I make or the way that I feel or how I get to heal. So this one, let me just teach everybody how to do that. So if you were going to the bathroom and you had to stop the stream in an instant, you'd contract certain muscles to do that. Those muscles are the perineal muscles in the pelvic floor. And when you contract those muscles, you automatically draw energy down to that area of your body in
You really
order
do.
to contract them. So we know you're down in there if you're able to contract those muscles. And so it's like a Kegel exercise. It's you could sort of lift up, you could contract the muscles and sort of lift them up toward your heart, but that's kind of a secondary, more advanced step. You just contracting them helps you a lot. So it's just everybody just squeeze those muscles with everything you've got. Just give them a big old squeeze and then relax it by 1/2. Okay. Just, I don't know what I'm doing. Just relax it by 1/2. Then right there is a great place to practice right there. So you want to contract it and then, it will automatically relax because we're so used to using all our energy up in our head. And the moment we pull all that energy up here to start thinking and worrying and, prognosticating and analyzing and writing stories, that takes that energy back up into our head. So then as soon as you notice that you're doing that, contract Mula Bandha again, just at the base of the spine. Just contract the muscles again and take a belly breath. And if you'll do that, here's what happens. It's amazing. People write to me from all over the world about this. This
As
changed
I
my
tried
life.
it earlier this morning, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is
It
amazing.
changes everything because it rushes the energy down into your wisdom center is down here. Your alignment as a creator is down here in the lower body. Your creative womb is here in the whole pelvic area. There is so much rich energy down low in our bodies that we've been ignoring and denying and disintegrated from. And so just by contracting this and breathing in the belly multiple times a day, you cannot overdo it. The more you do it, the better it will be. And so if here's what I know. If you're driving down the road and you're upset about something that happened at work, or you're anticipating some conversation that's going to have to happen, and you're like in your head and your heart's pounding, you're all upset, you contract Mula Bandha and watch what happens. You'll be like,
An
I don't know.
invitation for everyone on this call today.
So 100%, it will change it. People tell me all the time, it's like, I used to be addicted to getting upset because that shot of adrenaline, would come into my system and I'd feel more present, but I can't get that upset anymore. But Mula Bandha brings me present. I
That's
don't get upset
amazing.
because I'm doing Mula Bandha, and I'm just as present as I ever was. But people don't realize that they're addicted to the adrenaline. And so they keep getting
Exactly.
upset.
There's so many
Yeah.
exercises like this in this fabulous book called The Anatomy of Awakening.
Uh,
And Dr. Sue, I want to ask you I have some questions for you at the end, so I want to leave some time.
sure, sure.
But what is one thing that you would like everyone to take away from your book? One thing.
Ah. The number one thing that we can do to improve our life experience is to learn how to use our mind differently. And by using the mind connected with the body will show the mind how to do that. We just have to, learn a few things to align. It's
And
different
it's in
use of
this
the
book.
mind. Yeah,
It's
it's
all
in
in
the
this
book.
book.
It's definitely in the book.
So before I let you go, and I did not talk to you about this, so it's going to be 11 quick questions, no
Sure.
overthinking, just one or two words, and we call it the lightning round. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, one word for this season of your life.
Blissful.
Something you're releasing.
Something I'm releasing. A binding relationship with time.
Oh, so good. Something you're protecting.
The truth.
A belief you've outgrown.
Not enough.
A boundary that you've changed that changed everything.
A boundary that I changed.
No, a boundary that changed everything for you.
A boundary that changed everything for me. I woke up to this one day in
Oh,
meditation instead of
and she
thinking there's
talks
something
about
wrong.
that in her book.
No, in a meditation, I lit up here. It changed my entire life. Yeah.
And you should definitely pick up the book and read about this. So, what matters less to you now?
What people think,
What matters more to you now?
how to love,
One practice you return to daily.
deep central channel breath in a loving presence. It's in the book.
Yeah, a truth you trust more today.
A truth I trust more today. There is only one of us here.
Something midlife has given you.
Midlife,
Mm-hmm.
something midlife is
Or
given.
this life.
The piece of expressing creatively.
I love that. And who are you becoming?
Me.
I love that. Thank you so much for being a participant in the lightning round. It's a really
Uh-huh.
wonderful way for us to get to know you a little bit better at a deeper level in just short snippets.
Yeah,
Your
beautiful.
book
Thank you.
is a life changer, Dr. Sue. It
Mm.
really is. As I told her in the beginning, I have nearly every word underlined because it is so profound and it's such a deep reminder that we can live and choose life to live life differently. And this book helps you do it. And Dr. Sue, I really feel that if everyone lived like this, our world would be a much different
Mm.
place. And thank you for this gift. Thank you for you being a gift to the world. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me and for your deep, rich, meaningful questions. That makes it very fun.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank
Have a
you.
wonderful day.
Mm,
Thanks, everyone,
likewise.
for joining us.
Mm.
And
Bye-bye,
I
everyone.
hope to see you all soon. Thank you, Dr. Sue.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.